Alright folks, now it's time to make the swing arm in our trap, or the teeter-totter. This is the actual working mechanism that traps the sparrow. Now, I just make these out of scrap pieces that I have laying around in my junk piles. What I'm going to use to make this swing arm is I have a 14-inch piece of this is 1.25 inch thin wall PVC tubing, 14 inches long. This is very lightweight and it's really stable, so if it gets wet or anything like that, it doesn't affect how your trap works. I also have a piece of number 10 galvanized wire. You can go to any home center and buy a little steel rod or a brass rod. Anything that's, as long as it's straight, this will work. This is a piece of hardware cloth. This is 1/8 inch hardware cloth. This is 14 inches long by, a little less than 4 inches wide. This is what we make the actual cage on the swing arm out of. I also need a small bolt. This is a 1/4 inch bolt by 1 inch long, some washers, and a couple of drill bits. And this will get us going. And the first thing we have to do is find out where the center of this piece of PVC pipe is. So I've got this piece of scrap pipe, and I told you it's 14, it's actually 13.5, but this will work fine. And I need to have Riley, if she will, put a mark right in the middle of that at 6 3/4 inches, right there, honey.
Here?
Yep. Now we need to drill a hole right there where that mark is so that our pivot rod can go through that. Let's go over to the drill press. Okay, so we have our piece of pipe over at the drill press. We have our mark in the middle. And what you need to drill in anything round, very simple to make, just make you a V block like this. Take a piece of wood, run it through a saw or something, make a V in it, and that will hold that round shape so that it doesn't take off and try to run away from you while you're drilling a hole. And then we'll just drill a hole right through that pipe and try to get that as centered as you possibly can. Alright, now we have our hole drilled in the middle of our piece of PVC pipe. Now what we need to do is bevel this pipe on what will be the bottom of the swing arm so that the pipe will swing closer to the floor of the trap. And what we want to do is just, we'll cut a 45 off, or whatever angle works the best for you. Just bevel that bottom of that pipe so that when that pipe is swinging, it will swing closer to the floor of the trap. We'll go to the bandsaw and do that next. Alright, now you can see that we have the ends of our PVC tube beveled. And you can see when that swings, it'll get closer to the floor of the trap. It just allows a little more range of motion in that swing arm so you don't have any hang-ups. Now we have to make the pivot. Now remember, in our frame, on the inside of this we have 4 inches. This is 4 inches wide. So we need to take a piece of this number 10 wire, or whatever you're going to use for your pivot, and I want that cut. I'm going to cut that right at 4 inches because I'm going to smooth the ends of this up so there's really no friction or anything to grab, and then it'll sit nicely in those slots inside here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that wire. I'll measure my 4 inches. You see that's 4 inches long. Get a hold of that with a good pair of pliers. And this stuff's tough. I'll give it a good pinch and then just snap it off. Now you can see that just barely fits inside of there. Now I'm going to take this piece of wire and I'll file the ends of that and get them nice and smooth. Alright, we have our 4-inch piece of wire. The ends are nicely rounded. And you see this will fit right through the holes that we drilled. We sized these holes to fit this swing arm. And you see this slides into the frame. And now you get the idea of just how this works. You just made a little teeter-totter inside of this frame. Now all we have to do to make this functional is attach a cage to this end of the swing arm and a counterbalance to the other end. We'll start on that now. Now the first thing we need to do to our swing arm assembly is on one end we need to drill a 1/4-inch hole right at the end here, right out towards the end, and that's going to be to attach the counterbalance. So now I have my hole drilled in the back of my swing arm for the counterbalance. Now I'm going to lay the whole swing arm assembly back into the elevator frame because I want to take this piece of hardware cloth and lay it on here and kind of see where I have to bend this. What I'm going to have to do is bend this around like this and make a little cage right on the end of this swing arm. But I don't want it to interfere with the trap. When I build the trap, when I put the wire on the trap, there will be a wall of woven wire here. So we need to make sure that this will swing freely and not hit this woven wire wall. So I'm going to just eyeball that on there, see where I have to bend this wire. You want this cage to be the width of your entry. So I've got that bent. I've kind of seen where I want to put that. Now I'm just going to put a couple of self-tapping screws right through this woven wire, right down into this pipe, and that way we'll have our capture cage put on there. We'll start on that right now. Alright, now I have this hardware cloth fastened to this swing arm. I just need to bend it over and make a small capture cage here. Now I'm going to attach this to the other end with just some small zip ties. I'll run some zip ties right through the wire and loop those around and fasten that wire back down. But you can use anything to fasten this, whatever you have laying around, even a piece of string if that's what you have. I mean, you can make these out of anything is the point I'm trying to make. Whatever you have laying around, you can make something that'll catch your sparrows for you. I'll just pull these tight and then snip off the ends. Alright, now that we have our cage mounted to our swing arm, we're going to insert our pivot back in, and then we'll just center that up on the swing arm, and then we'll just fix that with a little dab of hot glue on the sides there, just to keep that from sliding. That's very snug in that hole, but it will slide back and forth over time, so we're going to try to eliminate that. Now all we have left to do basically is mount this into the frame and attach the counterbalance, and we'll do that right now.